And next we have Second Chance, a Battlemage Reborn, book number 1, an EndWorld Everlasting saga, written by R. Brady Frost. Okay, this is 549 pages, $4.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And here's the author's description. What if you can guarantee life after death? Denton Wade is dying. A Cyberternal Industries has the answer. An answer he isn't willing to accept. Life everlasting in a game world of fantasy, swords, and magic. EndWorld Everlasting, a man-made afterlife. It goes against everything he's always believed in. But there might still be hope. And hope is a very dangerous thing. Far below their headquarters in Dallas, Texas, Cyberternal has been working on a secret medical program, a program made available to Denton through his personal, if not complicated, connection to an assistant vice president at the powerful company. After agreeing to undergo the procedure, Denton finds himself awakened in a strange new world, a world he never wanted. So there we go. This is a digital afterlife story with RPG mechanics. It is, but it also kind of has this very fantasy-esque kind of plot, which was not enjoyable for me. I'll be frank and say that I just didn't enjoy this novel. A big part of me that has to do with the opening. It kind of just wasn't enjoyable for me. And that definitely tainted some of the rest of the book. So that it was really always hard for me to kind of get back into that space of enjoyment. The story starts out with an overly long, and again, this is personal opinion, overly long and emotional section where the main character, who's a dying old man, is supposed to get treated by an experimental nanite treatment at the request of his daughter, who is essentially emotionally manipulating him. All the while, he hints heavily that he doesn't trust either the tech or the guy running the company. And of course, then something goes wrong, and he dies and is uploaded to an MMO afterlife that the company runs. The main character refuses to stay there, but more emotional manipulation makes him go in and fully upload. Honestly, the entire section is probably going to work for a lot of readers. Like, I'm not saying it's badly written. There are definitely a lot of like heartstrings that are pulled and tears that are jerked out. But I didn't like it. Because I recognize it as emotional manipulation at the same time as a literature reader. I didn't care about how he got into the game world. I generally don't. Like these some authors feel like there has to be some real justification of why somebody would upload their mind. And for me, it's always been like, I don't care. This is just fun. I would, so, it was, I was always waiting for the good stuff to start, the RPG stuff, the stuff that I kind of came for. And so the fact that it went on for such a long period, it felt long, I should say. I also knew, of course, that from the first paragraph of the novel, that he was going to upload. Otherwise, there was not going to be a story here. So the entire time, I just wished for it to end and to get into the actual Liberty story. From there, the main character is magically saved by wolves and meets plenty of new players. He then gets tricked and then saved magically. Well, not magic, but he does get saved and acquires a powerful sentient magic sword, all while he's level 1. And this really bugged me. I always just like when main characters get these powers and these abilities or these items that are overpowered for the level without actually having to work for anything. And this is where it kind of, for me, starts to lean into that fantasy kind of plotting, where the main character is a chosen one and he gets this sword who's sentient and is judging him, and it becomes like this magic kind of MacGuffin to get him out of some situation sometimes. And it definitely feels like this plot issue in this story, and it kind of happens over and over in the story, where there are just these elements where the main character gains powers or regains abilities or items that work as plot devices to save him or to move the plot forward, and he doesn't earn them. He's literally on multiple occasions kind of given these things to save him, especially towards the end. I'm like, oh, that's a very fantasy-ish kind of plotting. And that's perfectly fine. If that's what you enjoy, no judgment for me. But in liturgy, one of the things I've always loved about the genre is the fact that everything kind of ties into the RPG mechanics. And those things definitely did not. They had no place within the RPG system whatsoever. It felt very much like this I want to say cyberpunk or like fantasy-esque kind of, plotting where these items and these things didn't really belong in this kind of MMO world. Now, outside of those plot points, there is some relatively decent XP grinding and questing, but nothing that was really, I want to say, original. It's stuff I've seen before. It's, you're fighting spiders, you're fighting wolves, you're fighting rats, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's not bad, but I'm like, I've definitely read this kind of stuff. It didn't feel very fresh or interesting to me. And of course, I understand totally that the main character is written in a certain manner so that at the beginning of the story, he has these flaws that he can kind of get over towards the middle and end of the story. But because of that beginning where I just didn't care about it, or I just didn't enjoy it, it kind of perpetuated the fact that I didn't like the main character. It always felt in the story, and this is kind of also said in other reviews for the novel, that the main character is annoying, and they always complain about not really wanting to be in the story. And even in the novel description, it kind of says that he never intended to upload his mind to this, digital afterlife situation. And he says in the story again and again and again that that's the case, that he doesn't really want to be there, but he's there for, for his children in some way or shape or form. And because I always felt like he didn't want to be there, I didn't want to be there with him. And that was always an issue for me in that. So, and the fact that the story kind of makes him a hero, even though he doesn't want to be a hero, was always something that I didn't enjoy. So there we go. So, besides those things, though, like I said, those were issues for me personally. So if those aren't issues for you, you probably enjoy this. You wait. I did not, though. Overall, again, the writing isn't bad. The combat's kind of meh. Especially in the beginning and parts of the story where he's kind of grinding for XP in ways that I was like, okay, you're killing rabbits and spiders. And I'm like, okay, I think we've seen that before. It felt a little tropey and predictable. And ultimately, I just didn't enjoy or care about the main character. And again, I don't hate the story in any shape or form, and I recognize that other people enjoy it, and that's perfectly cool. You might enjoy it too. Definitely go read a sample before you make a judgment. But it just didn't do it for me, and I kind of had to force myself to finish the novel. So for me, it gets a score of 6 out of 10. That's Second Chance, a Battlemage Reborn, book number 1, an EndWorld Everlasting saga with a score of 6 out of 10.